Hi there and welcome to my channel. I'm Jennifer. This is A Country Life, and today I'm going to show you what half of a beef cow looks like. I know that this has become very much just very popular, very common for people to be buying their beef from a farmer, a local farmer, and maybe you have no idea what that's going to look like. What does a half look like? How much meat are you going to get? So I wanted to do today's video to just kind of give you guys a little insight into how that process works. So the first step is to find somebody that raises whatever the animal is. In this case, a beef cow or a beef steer, sometimes it might be called. Anyway, and then once you find that person and you feel comfortable with the practices, whether it is grass-fed or organic or traditionally raised, whatever it happens to be that you're comfortable with, then you get into some kind of agreement with that farmer. So in our situation, there isn't anything to sign because we know the man and he knows us. He knows that we're good for it as far as paying him. And so then anyway, we just kind of like reserve a half of one of his animals. And he raises it, and when he tells us, oh, it's going to be the middle of August or it's going to be the 1st of September, whatever it is. So you know when you have to be ready for this, whether it's cleaning out your freezer, defrosting a freezer, buying a freezer, whatever it is, you know, kind of with a little window of time of when it's going to be coming available to you. Then what will happen, at least in our experience, what happens is the farmer calls us up and says, okay, the animal is going in for butchering and processing, and you need to call the meat processing store. And then what happens is you call them up, and I give them our farmer's name, I give them my name, and then they take down my cutting order. And that is the part that was so confusing for me at first, simply because we never bought beef for so many years of our marriage. We've been married for 28 or almost 28 years, and most of that time was just all venison, all white-tailed deer. And so that was very confusing for me at first to know what cuts of meat I wanted, but it actually is very simple. The person on the other end of the line will walk you right through it. So they will ask you, do you want this kind of steak? Do you want this? Do you want this? And then you say yes or no. And then if you say yes, they will ask you further questions. Let me turn this around and show you what we got. I didn't mean for that to be such a long introduction. Okay, so one of the things she asked, do you want beef sirloin steak? Yes, we do. What size do you want? Do you want them 3/4 thick? Do you want them 1 inch thick? They will ask you those kinds of questions based on what their particular processing plant offers. You know, they don't all offer exactly the same thing, so it just kind of depends. They will ask you that. The nice thing here is that these all have the exact weights on it. I love that they do that. Not all places will do that, but it tells me what the weight is on here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 beef sirloin steaks. Do you want beef brisket? Yes. So I have 2. I have a 6 and a almost 5-pound beef brisket. At this particular place, they vacuum seal everything, which is really nice. Some places do still do the kind of like a waxy type paper and then wrapped in white butcher paper. And we've had that actually, depending on where our farmer ends up being able to get in. It's been very hard for the farmers to get their meat in to butcher because, well, I think it's a tough job, and there sometimes are not enough to go around. Okay, anyway, yes.
Where's your hairdryer?
My hairdryer underneath on the left of the sink in the basket. Okay, so like I said, at this particular place, which happens to be Butcher Block 66 out of Stevens Point, they vacuum seal everything. So I have 2 large beef briskets. I ended up with 1 beef rolled rump roast and 1 beef English roast. I think this I'd have to look it up, but I'm thinking that the beef English roast is sort of what might be called an arm roast. At one of the other processing places that our meat went, I think it was where it went last year, they did arm roasts, and that was a really nice cut. I didn't get that here, but I thought I read once that an English roast is similar. So I have a 4 and almost 5 pound roast there. Next up we have the beef rib steaks, and in that case she asked me if I wanted beef rib steak or boneless ribeye. I opted for the beef rib steak. We really like that, and we want more of the steak than we do having trimmings going into ground beef. So we have 2 in each of these packets. That's another thing they will ask you, is how you want it packed, if you want it 1 steak or 2 steaks per vacuum seal pack. They will ask you about your roasts, what size you want those as well. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, if there's only 2 in there, 8, 10, 12, and 14. So I have 14 beef rib steaks. We have the beef top round steak here. This is usually a little bit tougher of a cut. And I shouldn't say tougher, it's just typically much more lean. And so this is a great one to like cut into smaller pieces, tenderize a little bit, which again, I want to point out is something that you can ask for them to do. You can say, will you tenderize my beef top round steak? And they will. There's an added cost. At our place, I believe it's 80 cents a pound to have that done extra. And so I opt not to, because there's all kinds of things. I mean, I can do that at home, but they will run it. You can have it run through like one of those little tenderizing cubers. I think that's what it's called, to have something more like cube steak, but you will get charged a little added fee. And so for the top round steak, they are averaging, it looks like about 1.5 pounds. Oh, there's one all the way just under a pound, all the way up to 1.6 pounds. All the way up to 1.6 pounds. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. This is half of a beef cow. And then for the sirloin tip roast, that's another thing that our butcher asks if we want that cut into stew meat. There is an added expense for that as well. I can easily cut it into stew meat. Yes, it does take some time, but I just would like to save that money. And you know, we don't want this to be really an arm and a leg, okay? And so beef sirloin tip roast, I have 2 of those coming in at just about 4 pounds each. The beef chuck roast, they asked if I wanted them to average 2 to 3 pounds or 3 to 4 pounds. I opted for the 3 to 4 pounds just with our family size, and it's very marbled. So when you do cook a chuck roast down, you don't quite end up with what you think you're going to end up with. It always seems a little bit less meat than what you think, because it's very marbled and you do end up with a lot of fat. Excellent for gravy, but anyway, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 big beef chuck roasts, and some of those are really big. I mean, we have one somewhere here, maybe there, that's like well over 4 pounds, almost 5 pounds. Do you want the beef short ribs? I said yes. So they packaged those. Looks like 2 to a package here. Oh, this one is 4 to a package. And this one 2 to a package. Unless, yes, I think that's how it is. Again, if you opted like I don't want beef short ribs, then they will cut that for trimmings, and that will get added into your ground beef. Soup bones is another one of those things that they ask about, and I always go for the soup bones. I have a recipe in one of my cookbooks. I think it might be the second cookbook, and I use beef soup bones, and then I use venison stew meat, and I cook that down. It makes basically just a beef vegetable or venison / beef vegetable soup in the crock pot. It's very, very delicious, and it's a favorite of mine to do in the fall during cranberry harvest. And so anyway, I always go for the soup bones. Such good flavor. This is something you can just cook down and make your bone broth out of as well. then just pick the meat and maybe make like a gravy or something like that. But beef soup bones. And almost last, but definitely not least, are the beef T-bone steaks. So I asked for them to be 3/4 of an inch thick. They do look thicker. They look like they're a full inch for sure. But that is going to be quite all right. And I asked them to pack them. Well, they asked me, do you want them 1 or 2 to a package? And I said 2. So we ended up with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and then one lonely one here for number 13. So for everything other than ground beef, this is what it looks like. I did have the option, excuse me, I did have the option of getting the tongue, the liver, and something else. I opted not to. I know I could cook those down and turn them into some kind of stock, but I didn't want to. That's basically what it comes down to. But you can always say yes to that. You can cook that meat down, I suppose. I could have cooked it up in the pressure cooker, and then I could have just given it to the chickens. That would have been an option too. But I said no. As far as ground beef, they package it in these little like plastic wraps here. And this is 1.5 pounds. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on with my voice here. Maybe allergies, but 1.5 pounds. They asked, do you want them in 1 or 2 pound packages? And I said, well, last year we did 1.5. And they said, good, we can do that. So this is all of my ground beef. I don't even know how many packages this is. It is a lot of ground beef. And yeah, always, always so delicious. So this is what half of a beef cow looks like. I highly encourage you to find a local farmer and get on their list and start purchasing your meat this way. It is a great way to support your local farmers. It's a great way to get some very, very high quality and delicious meat. So Warren is out getting the freezer ready for me right now, and I am going to start loading this into a tote. Something manageable that I can carry, and I'm going to start taking this out there. We always like to, we're going to pack this at the bottom of the freezer and bring up anything that we hadn't used from last year, which really is just some ground beef. Otherwise, we may have one roast that sifted down to the bottom that we missed, and possibly the pack of beef short ribs. It's just something I don't use up as quickly as I always think I'm going to. Actually, the beef short ribs are another thing that you can add if you're making that venison beef vegetable soup in the crock pot that I talked about a little bit ago. Beef soup bones work for that, but also the beef short ribs would work really well for that too. And once you cook them down long enough, then it's a lot easier to pick the meat off of the bone for that. So let me get this loaded up, and we're gonna take it out to our deep freeze. It is best to keep this in a deep freeze. This amount, I probably, yeah, you're gonna have to have some kind of large freezer. There's no way you're gonna get this into your house freezer, you know, like your refrigerator freezer combo in the kitchen. You are going to have to invest in a freezer of some sort, and there are so many of them out there. But I will advise you that if you are thinking of going to get local meat like this and buying it in bulk, you're going to want to secure your freezer far enough in advance, because a lot of places will not just sell them off the floor right now. You have to order, and that can take some time for sure. I think it's getting better. Obviously, from 2020 to 2022 was pretty rough trying to get a freezer. I do think it's getting a little bit better though, but definitely leave yourself plenty of time. All right, let me get this stuff going into the freezer now. I know that Warren was, like I said, he was out there working at prepping that area. All my talk about being prepared, the one thing that we were not prepared with was having our freezer defrosted, and it definitely needed it. Warren came out, was taking stuff out so that we could like recirculate everything, and we were losing like
4 inches.
About 4 inches, not 4 inches on each side, but like a total of 4 inches with the ice that was built up along the edges. So we found actually what's working really, really well to do a quick defrost is he put a heater down there, but we're just using the blow dryer. And then, you guys know I love Rita cutlery. This is one of their little dessert, I think they call this a dessert server or whatever. This is so thin and it's kind of flexible. It works really well to just slide it. Oh, I don't want to get ice on him. It works really well to slide it here, right behind the ice. Well, I'm doing this left-handed right now, but it works well to slide this behind the ice, and the ice is just popping off. I mean, we're down to just one side here, and then we'll just have to like sop up the bottom with some towels, and we are going to be back in business. And this is really only taking, like, at this point, now that we have this system, it's like 15 minutes, wouldn't you say? Yep. And we're getting this done. So it's actually working pretty well. And there goes Warren with a bucket of ice right now. Well, now we have a nice freezer to put all of our meat back into. It is sparkling, sparkling clean.
Yep.
So what is the plan? The plan, do you think, is to put all of the ground beef down low?
Well, I think the first thing we need to do is plug the freezer in.
Oh, yes. Good call.
Yeah?
That's a good call.
But yeah, I think the hamburger on the bottom, steaks, because
Yeah.
steaks are going to go first.
Yep, they always do. Sure, but yes. So the goal is to get all of that beef in here, the whole half of a beef cow, and this just keeps getting blurry. There we go, it's clearing up again. And then this is what was in the freezer. Is the cooler full too?
It's plumb full.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so what was in the freezer was everything in here, plus that giant cooler there is plumb full.
Behind you.
Where? Oh, okay, and that also was in here. So there's going to be a lot of shifting around right now, because the other one longer would be 64 inches.
It's not the smaller, huh?
Right, no, because it's 48, you know, or 46, I mean.
14.
Yeah. All right, so we just looked at our little guide up here, and we have a 14.8 cubic foot freezer, and this is what half of a beef cow looks like in the freezer. From this angle, we have all of the ground beef there, and there's like that much space above it. We have meat all filling the bottom, and we have that much space above the meat on that side. So I would say easily this could fit into the 10, and it may actually fit into the 7 cubic foot. Do you think this would fit? If this is 14.8?
It'd be brimming.
It would be brimming, but yes, it may fit into a 10, or a 7, but it for sure would fit into a 10. Just for your knowledge, if you're like, what size freezer do I actually need? Hopefully that helps you out a little bit. Now we're going to get the other stuff back in here. So we have a few cuts of beef from last year's from last year's butcher, 2 round steaks.
I think we need to make more soup because we have a lot of soup bones.
I know. It's going to be soup season here pretty soon if we ever get out of this heat, huh?
It's always soup season.
Always soup season.
It's always chili season.
That's for sure.
Oh, let's see.
Yeah, we do actually have a lot of beef soup bones.
Yep.
All right, well, I'm going to put the camera down. I'm going to start handing stuff to Warren here so he can load this up. Well, good morning. Here we are. It's the next day. I thought that after all of the beef, I would continue filming yesterday, and guess what? I never picked up the camera. Yesterday was our first day of school, and we started with math and a literature unit. And so I really wanted to, yeah, I thought I was going to bring you along for that first day. I didn't. So here we are the next day, and it's the guys are gone, but I wanted to get the humidifier. So maybe you have seen the full video of the Dreo products. So they sent me the poly fan, a ceiling fan, and a humidifier. And I really want to get that humidifier into Joe's room. Today's video is sponsored by Dreo. And I need to get his nightstand here cleared off. I am going to put it on his nightstand and we're going to run it at a very, very low setting. I've just noticed that with the allergy season kind of starting to kick up again, I've noticed that his nose has been kind of dry, and his breathing has sounded a little bit dry, like at night. And so I wanted to get a humidifier going in here just to add a little bit of moisture to the air. That's what I have to work with. So I'm going to get his nightstand all cleared up, and I wonder why he has that cologne over there. I think that is not his. Interesting. He went somewhere and stole somebody's cologne. Is that Warren's? Is it Sam's? I think it might be Warren's. Maybe Warren gave it to him. Well, let me get this all cleared off so that I can get his humidifier put here. All right, we are going to get this around here. All right, I was able to get the cord around, which is nice. Get this turned on. Make sure that everything... Yeah, this is really nice. It has just this simple on-off button. Actually, Joe is going to be able to run this on his own. You can set it for a time, which is another nice option right here. Like, let's say I turn this on at bedtime and I just want it to go for 2 hours. That's good. I can set it for 3 hours or 4 hours or 5 hours. And I think I can keep going, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours, 11, really as long as you want. Okay, we're gonna turn that off. Whoops, I don't want that to be up. There we go. Okay. Yeah, there's also an auto setting. So like if you want it to be at a certain % humidity in the room, you can change that so that it will turn off when it gets to that humidity level. Let me hit it again so I can show you guys how it works. There we go. It goes up in increments. So I could set it at like 70% humidity. It's at 66 right now. Once the room is registering 70%, it'll just automatically turn off. And it will then automatically turn back on if it registers that it is that it has dropped. So that is really, really nice. A really nice feature to this, and it is a night light, and I feel like the kids I think it's actually kind of relaxing to watch. You can watch the water like bubbling up in the little I want to say condenser, but I'm not really sure if that's the right word, but you know, where it's switching it over from liquid water to more just like water droplets here. So very nice. And I can have it going straight up if I want. So it's just going straight up into the air. You can aim it backwards. I wouldn't because the wood wall is back there, but you can have it forward like this too, so it kind of comes out into the room. Super awesome. Another Dreo product that we have been enjoying here is the Dreo 704S circulating fan. We are going to just use the remote here. Boom, on. And we actually just usually keep it at level 1. It has plenty of air circulation. This room, I think, is this room 16 by 20? Yesterday we were, you know, on the couches here. We were starting up our schoolwork, and it was like, you know, when kids like start thinking and then things are a little bit hard, all of a sudden they're like, I'm hot. So we had turned on the fan. It was like, oh, that actually feels really, really good. Both of these devices are also smart devices where you can get the app right on your phone and you can control them right through the app. That's another nice feature of these products, as well as the remote. If you have limited mobility, you can just hold on to the remote and work it from there. If you're hot, you're cold, turn it on, turn it off. It also has the nice display right here that you can run it by. So if either of these products, this Dreo air circulating fan, oh, I didn't show you one of the coolest things about this one too. This is why it's an air circulator and not just a fan. It also oscillates vertically. So, yep, watch it. So what it's doing that way is it's circulating the air from the top of your room to the bottom of your room, and it just keeps circulating it that way. But then it also has the horizontal oscillating, which is what gives you that nice breeze that you're looking for when you want to cool off. If you are interested in either of these products, just check the description box below. I will have the links to both of those. They have multiple fan and air circulating products. Thanks to Dreo for sponsoring today's video. It is also laundry day here today. I was just washing some pillows. I like to run the pillows through every now and again, you know, just because pillows can tend to get stinky, and especially with allergies and everything, I just feel like it's helpful to have nice clean pillows. Some clothes to fold here that I did yesterday, so let me get those folded so I can get these transferred over. And then I have, well, that's not going to go together, but I have some sheets that I want to wash as well. Goodness, I pull this out, it's almost like deer season is coming. No, we've got, I think we have 3 months. And I want to enjoy every single day up until then. All right, here we go. It's supper time. It's actually 4:45. We're going to be eating supper a little bit late. Warren and Maria had something they had to go to, and so they're going to be back late. I'm going to do tater tot casserole tonight. It's been a while. Had some requests, so I thought, let's get that going. Tater tot casserole really doesn't need a recipe. It's just some ground beef or ground venison. We're out of ground venison right now. But I have 1.5 pounds here with a nice big onion. I'm going to add in 1 can cream of mushroom soup and 1 can of mixed vegetables. Sometimes, if I want this to go a little further, I'll do 2 cans. And 2 cans of this too. I mean, it's... Oh, I do, before I do that, I'm going to put a paper towel in here and get some of that grease too. So anyway, that is going to be it. We're going to put it into this pan here, top it with tater tots, get it in the oven. Now, there's lots of fancy things you can do. You can top yours with cheese. You can use cream of potato soup. I've heard of people doing that too. They really like that. I don't know if that's really fancy necessarily, but you can look up all kinds of recipes for tater tot casserole, and they can get, you know, more complicated. You could put more spices in your meat, flavor it up. I'm just going to add a little salt and pepper, and that's going to be it. I just try to keep it really simple. When I use canned vegetables, I don't drain all the liquid. I just drained a little bit, and I leave some of it in here too. I want that moisture. I guess it's not as important when you're using ground beef, but when I use ground venison, for sure, you want that extra moisture just to make sure that it stays, you know, moist, tender. Tastes good that way. Mix this around. We're going to salt it. I'm going to pepper it, but I need 2 hands. Get this spread out. Smidge of seasoned salt over the top. This is going to go in the oven anywhere from 350 to 425. I mean, if you want the tater tots to get really crunchy, go for 425. If you want them to stay, if you want it to just have to be in the oven longer, put it in at 350. You can still get the tater tots crunchy. It's just going to go in the oven for longer. So I kind of just vary it up depending. You know, sometimes I'm on the ball and I have supper ready to go into the oven. So then I just let it go a lot longer. Maria did my hair today, so I've got some kind of bun going on here. Sometimes I'm in a hurry and I just put it in at 425 or even 450 and just quick cook the heck out of it, basically. Well, I'm going to start making a cookie recipe here. It is another cookie recipe out of, oh my goodness, the lighting. It's another cookie recipe out of this Amish Cooks, or the Amish Cooks family favorite recipes. I read that backwards, and I could do it. That's amazing. So I have 1 cup of brown sugar in here, 1 cup of sugar. We're going to do a cup of shortening. I'd have to look in cookbook number 2. I'm pretty sure in there I have a recipe for, I can't remember if they call them monster cookies. This recipe is called Ranger cookies, or if it is a recipe for like a Ranger cookie or something. I think I got it from my aunt. And that one actually had a little peanut butter, and this one does not. So that's why I thought, oh, let's give this one a try. I feel like this would be good. So we're gonna go with it. All right, let's get that mixed up really well. All right, we're gonna put 2 eggs in. Let's get this. We just got 4 more hens, 4 buff Orpingtons, and they didn't even miss a beat when we got them to our house. They immediately laid, and I thought, well, that was just like the egg from that was there when they were at their old house, and they're just still laying. So we are just tickled. Our young chicks, which are not so young obviously anymore, they are all laying. I didn't think they were going to start laying until September, and they already started right away in August. So that was 2 eggs in there. We need a tablespoon of vanilla. As everybody says, measure with your heart. We need some salt. We are not, well, I guess I do normally measure with my heart, don't I, with salt too, but we're actually going to use the measuring spoon today. A 1/2 teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Let's get that mixed. We're going to do 2 cups of flour. Get that mixed gently. All right, I'm supposed to put in 2 cups of puffed rice. When I first read the recipe, I was thinking it was Rice Krispies, but I don't think that's what they mean. I think they mean like that. Or wait, that's puffed wheat. I'm not sure. They call these Rice Crisps. I think puffed rice is kind of like puffed wheat, but it's more of like that real light color. And I, of course, do not have puffed rice. I mean, leave that in the comments. Does anybody buy puffed rice cereal anymore? Is it even in the stores? I legit have not seen that in ages. I do remember my mom buying it. I was like, what is this, styrofoam? So what I'm going to do is put some cornflakes in. Why not? I also need 2 cups of oatmeal or rolled oats. So let's put that in. And everybody will think that these are chocolate chip cookies or something similar if I put in some chocolate chips. So let's do that too. Probably about, it's about a 1/2 cup of chocolate chips. Let's see how that looks. All right, I had to try a little bite of dough just to make sure that that had a good flavor, and yes, it does. Okay, my oven has preheated to 400 degrees. These are supposed to go in for about 10 minutes. I'm going to check them a little before 10 because I feel like that's kind of a long time. Correct. That's a B. Okay, so here are the cookies, 400 degrees, and I only had them in for about 9 minutes. Joe gives them a thumbs up. He thought they were really good. Actually, everybody thinks that they're very good. Maria's like, I like that crunch, right?
I love crunch.
You like the crunch too?
Yeah, I love crunch.
So we just washed up some grapes for supper here, a little cottage cheese, and here is the tater tot casserole. So let me just get a spoon in here, and we will serve it up just like that. Supper for this Monday night.